Now, if we go back to the video, which we are playing for you, I want to show you what this person he said about the Quran, and I want the Muslim to listen carefully. Remember, the video supposedly is about explaining 2 verses in the Quran. And remember, the Quran says, as we showed you, that Allah, He made the Quran clear to you. In order to make it clear, He made it in Arabic. An hour, 2 hours and 7-minute videos to explain 2 verses. Can you believe it? 2 hours and 7 minutes lecturer to explain 2 verses. Do you see how he cleared the Quran? And did he clear it? No, because we die laughing at it. Listen carefully what he will say in the beginning. I will go and let us see when he starts.
Sheikh starts getting super high academic, then it's like he's releasing sleeping gas from his mouth, and you just inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, right? And so first thing you hear is inna alhamdulillah, and the next thing you hear is aqim salat. That's the only thing you hear. So
he's making fun of Islamic teachers. He says something, he ended because he explained nothing, and supposedly he is going to explain to us. Go ahead, mister. Yeah, stop making fun of the rest of the Muslims. He is the genius.
So we'll try not to do that, inshallah ta'ala. But anyway, one of the cool things I want to share with you is that one of the most fascinating studies in the Quran is actually how the surahs of the Quran are organized. And this is actually a number of different subjects together. The first subject is how are the surahs themselves organized. Fatiha is first, Baqarah is second, Ali Imran is third, etc., etc. Why are they in this order? Because from a Western academic standpoint, and by the way, the first time I studied Quran seriously, it was not from Muslims. It was from non-Muslims.
Take a note. The first time this person, he studied Quran seriously, it was not from Muslims. Muslims never study Quran seriously. Their study is a joke. He learned it from us, how to study Quran seriously. Now listen carefully what he learned.
And when they study the Quran, they don't say, Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. They begin, like they study any literature, they start with criticism. We start, when we study the book of Allah, we begin with hamd, we begin with praise. We begin with iman, that this is the best, you know, وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ يَقُولُونَ آمَنَّا بِهِ كُلُّ مِنْ عِنْدِ رَبِّنَا. Okay, this is what we say. That's not what they say. They begin with criticism.
And the funny thing, suppose he is a smart teacher, but then he read in Arabic, or he said sentence in Arabic, but he don't translate it. But all the audience are English-speaking people. I mean, do you see the stupidity? This is the lack of intellect. Because when you quote, when you say something in Arabic, and all your audience are English-speaking people, and you don't translate what you just said, how stupid is that? What's the point of saying that sentence? Because you want to show he's a scholar, he knew Arabic. It's a show time.
Criticism, skepticism. And so the first exposure, one of the first serious exposures I had to the Quran was actually criticism. And the first criticism was the Quran is unorganized. The surahs are in this random order, and the subject keeps going from one to the other, and even they call them chapters of the Quran, right? That's what they call it. But they don't call it surah, they call it a chapter. Even though a chapter and a surah are not the same thing at all.
Hold on. They call it a chapter, they don't call it a surah. Why your God, he did not name every surah by surah? Why your Quran doesn't say this is the surah of the cow, as long as you want them to use the word surah? Secondly, it's not a surah, it's a surah. Your prophet is copying the Aramaic. And he mentioned something very important, that those who study the Quran, right away they will find that the Quran is an organized book. Did you hear it, Muslims? And he agreed. And he will agree, and he will confirm that. There is a a study made by some German historian. They come with very clear, many good evidence actually, that the Quran was not even in Arabic. This is why we see the word surah in the Quran, you know, exist. This is the Aramaic way of saying the word. If you ask a Muslim, what is surah mean? What is surah mean? Is it a chapter? They say yes. But the Quran never came as a chapter. The guy now, he will tell you how surah work. What surah? What does the word surah mean? He said that the Western, they call it chapter, they don't call it surah. And he will say to you that there is a difference between them. What is the difference? Listen carefully.
The serious exposures I had to the Quran was actually criticism. And the first criticism was the Quran is unorganized. The surahs are in this random order, and the subject keeps going from one to the other, and even they call them chapters of the Quran, right? That's what they call it. But they don't call it surah, they call it a chapter. Even though a chapter and a surah are not the same thing at all. They're not the same. I personally don't agree with the translation of surah as chapter. I don't. Because there's a certain standard in literature for a chapter. A chapter has logical points that are made in chronology. And if a chapter, like chapter 5, is going to repeat something from chapter 3, they won't do it the same way. They'll just say, refer back to chapter 3.
Did you hear it, Muslims? This is an organized, smart, intelligent book. And instead of repeating the same stupid thing, we say to you, go and open page number, etc., in chapter, etc. The Quran doesn't do that. And he agreed that the Quran is suffering from the flight of thoughts because a topic have nothing to do with the next topic. So how this can be a book from God? And now he's saying, I don't agree with the chapter because the chapter will make the Quran a perfect organized book. The Quran is not. He just said that.
That's what chapters do. They're built chronologically. The other thing about chapters is you cannot begin a book with chapter 12. You can't do it. You have to begin with chapter what? 1. And 1 is the first thing the author writes. Then the author writes 2. Then the author writes 3. Then the author writes 4. And even the student has to study chapter 1 first, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4.
See?
But when the Quran was revealed, the first surah revealed, اقرأ بسم ربك الذي خلق. Where is that in the Quran? Is that in the beginning?
No.
That's all the way at the end.
Exactly. This is how a smart, intelligent being, he write a book. So why the Quran is messed up? The first revelation supposedly given to Muhammad is not the first in the book. And we just heard him saying, when an author, he write a book, he start with the chapter 1. You don't go and read the chapter 50, which is the last chapter in the book. But this is what the Muslim did. Allah supposedly, he gave Muhammad the chapter of Iqra, the one where Muhammad being squeezed by the guy, the cave. And by the way, the Muslims are not in total agreement about which the first one Muhammad received. They have the different stories about it. But this is the majority. They say that the first one Muhammad received is this chapter. And if we go to the Quran, we will find it, as he said, at the end of the Quran. So how something who is supposedly in the beginning of the Quran become at the end of the Quran? Read carefully. This is chapter 96. This guy, he just destroyed all the claim of Muslims that the Quran is preserved. Because if you Muslim preserve the Quran, you don't change the words of the Quran location. If Allah, he gave it to you first chapter, how you make it number 97? Who gave you authority? If Allah gave you authority, Muslims, show me. Go ahead. to the last chapter, because this is almost at the end. You know, if we check here, you will see there's a few chapters left. This is 96, and the Quran is 114. And they are very small, tiny. The rest, like the one at the end, they are like nothing, stupid verses. I can't even call them verses or chapters. So how you preserve the Quran and yet you change the location of its chapters and verses? If we go to the Quran again, we will check this. Read carefully. In the Quran, in chapter 4, verse number 46, in chapter 5, verse number 13, in chapter 5, verse 41, it's speaking carefully that there's some of the Jews, the Quran used the word يُحَرِّفُونَ الْكَلَمَ عَنْ مَوَاضِعِهِ. They change the location of words from their location. They don't change the words. They don't change the words. But they change the location. If you go and read what the story here, you will see there's a Jew. He put his finger over a word. That is the change. He did not take the word. He did not move it by writing. He did not move it to different page. He did not move it to different chapter. No. He just put his finger over a verses or a verse, which about stoning to death for a woman or a punishment for adultery. So the Quran saying it's forbidden to change the location of God's words, even by putting your finger in the top of them. So how you Muslim, you change the whole chapters from their locations? Do we have any Muslim in the bushes? If the Quran confirms that a change in location of verses or words from their right place, and the story, the Jews did not even change it, they're just a guy, he put his finger in the top of a line so Muhammad cannot see it. Go and read the interpretation. Actually, there's a hadith about it. If that is a corruption, by putting your finger over a line in the book, claiming that this is a displace of the words from their location, how about the Muslims who changed the whole Quran location? Any Muhammadan? We just heard the guy saying, well, good books written in a certain way. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. The Quran, no. Chapter 1 became at the end. Okay, who threw it there? And if the Quran is forbidding you from doing such an act, how you do that? Who gave you the authority? Give me his name. The Caliphate? Is he the Prophet? Is he God? Is the Caliphate fixing Allah messed up book? Because this guy is saying to us that this is how the Quran is made today. Who made it this way? Let us hear more so we can laugh more.
So if you're studying Quran right now from the beginning, you're going to read the first revelation at the end of your journey. It's very different. So then the order is not even the order in which it was revealed. It's not chronological.
No, it's not.
The other problem is the order, you know, understandably the order.
Hold on. Did he say the other problem? Did I hear correctly that the person he just said, the other problem? Said the other problem. By saying that, you just confirm that the Quran have many problems. He just counts for us number one. And now we will go to problem number 2. So how this is a perfect book? And you are going to explain to us the amazing book, and you start with the problems. The problem which you are talking about is made by man or by God?
Order is not, it doesn't seem to be organized by subject. What that
Did you hear it? The Quran is a messed up book. It's not organized by subject. So why it is not? I mean, have you ever heard of a book? One phrase talking about how to make salad, the verse after it speaking about oil leaking from the car. He just admitted this book is messed up.